I've never in my 30-year career seen a case like this one.
He takes his left hand with the gun, and as he brings it along up and around the left-hand side of the steering wheel is when I...
A former Miami-Dade Police Department lieutenant accused of abusing an adolescent family member at gunpoint now faces up to 48 years in prison after jurors found him guilty on 7 charges of lewd and lascivious molestation of a minor and 1 count of abduction. Braulio Gonzales, 47, also did not have to wait long to find out his fate, as the jury delivered their decision after just 15 minutes of discussion. Gonzales was arrested in 2018 when one of the victims informed her psychologist that he sexually attacked her when she was just 8 years old, and the underage girl subsequently notified Child Protective Services officials that Gonzales would touch her. The alleged assaults occurred over a 2-year period, according to prosecutors.
So I am ordering you to stay away from the victim, okay? No contact with the victim.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Beginning in 2011 and ending in 2013, when the victim turned 10 years old. The abduction accusation arises from Gonzales's alleged acts during what the jury decided was his initial interaction with one of the youngsters. According to state court records filed at the time of Gonzales' arrest, she described being woken up and seeing the defendant pointing a firearm at her head. And the defendant told her that if she didn't follow him, he would kill her sibling, who was sleeping in the same bedroom on another bed. That threat, according to the victim, got her going, which may explain why she waited so long to disclose her claims with anyone else. Gonzales' attorney negotiated a compromise that permitted him to await trial while under house arrest, and the defendant continued to receive his taxpayer-funded income even after his arrest, since his agency chose to place him on paid leave. Another juvenile girl came forward to accuse Gonzales 9 months after the indictment on those first counts, according to court papers. The second victim accused Gonzales of entering a restroom and observing her wash while she was between the ages of 9 and 11.
So at this time, based on the jury's findings, on every count I'm sentencing you to life in prison. Count 1 will be a 10-year minimum mandatory. Counts 2 through 9 will have a 25-year minimum mandatory. Everything will run concurrent.
Officer Kenneth Bluew was out on his routine third shift patrol on August 3, 2011, and no one in the department had heard from him in over an hour. Officer Tim Patterson was sent to hunt for him, and when he approached a forested area where Ken often parked, he saw Ken's police car. Officer Bluew informed him that he had been checking out a suspicious vehicle. Officer Bluew said he believed the body of a heavily pregnant woman near a drainage ditch was a suicide. There was an extension cord wrapped around Jennifer's neck and tied around the car. Officer Bluew also found a note in the woman's purse. In the note, Jennifer claimed that she had lied about the baby's father, and that it was a man named Chris, whom she had met in a bar. Other officers, detectives, the crime lab, and a forensics team arrived at the site at 11:30 p.m. that evening, and Detective Sean Waterman was entrusted with informing Jennifer's family on August 31st, 2011. Detective Waterman questioned them about this Chris person and the father of the baby, and Donald and Dawn Webb both admitted that Jennifer did not know who the father was, and that she would never have killed herself if she knew who that father was, revealing that the father of the baby was none other than Officer Ken Bluew. Detective Waterman said he was astonished and sick to his stomach, and that's when he realized Jennifer's death was not a suicide. Detective Sergeants Jason Teddy and Alan Ogg interrogated Ken, who Ogg recognized from previous investigations. When questioned about his connection with Jennifer, Ken said that they had lately seen each other once or twice a month, but that he had never had a sexual relationship with her. When the police questioned Ken why he didn't identify her at the scene, he said that it was because of how she was positioned and because he went into work mode, focused on the facts. Alan Ogg also noted various injuries on Ken, including an eye injury, and inquired about them. However, Ken said that he had been playing with his dog, who scratched him. They then returned to the topic of his connection with Jennifer, asking him whether he was the father of her child, which Ken denied. Ken consented to provide the police a sample of his DNA. The police had no charges against Ken, so he was freed. It was also proven that Ken was the father of the baby. Ken was arrested on September 12, 2011, and was convicted of first-degree premeditated murder, assault on a pregnant woman with the purpose to induce miscarriage or stillbirth, and possession of a handgun during a crime on October 11, 2012.
I've never in my 30-year career seen a case like this one.
So go to your cage and think about how you squeezed the life and breath out of my daughter and grandson. And I hope it haunts you every day for the rest of your life.
He was sentenced to life in prison without the chance of release. Ken was also sentenced to 65 to 100 years in prison for assault, but a court lowered the assault conviction to 18 to 40 years. It's evident that Ken murdered Jennifer because he didn't want to pay child support and didn't want his secrets known.
An 8-year-old boy who right now should be getting excited for Christmas is dead.
I already sentenced myself to a lifetime filled with extreme regret, remorse, and grief.
Can never let this happen again.
Michael Valva, a former NYPD officer, was sentenced to 25 years to life in jail for the murder of his 8-year-old son. In January 2020, Michael Valva, 45, reportedly forced his 8-year-old son Thomas to sleep in an unheated garage in below freezing conditions, resulting in the child's death. Valva was found guilty on all counts, including second-degree murder. I have already sentenced myself to a lifetime of extreme regret, remorse, and grief, Valva said to the court before his sentencing. Authorities conducted an investigation and discovered evidence of alleged physical abuse and neglect by Valva and his then-girlfriend Angela Paulina between September 2017 and January 2020, including reports from the East Mauritius School District alleging that Thomas and his brother arrived at school hungry, cold, soiled, or marked with scratches, bruises, and cuts on numerous occasions. This is one of the most difficult and heartbreaking cases I have handled in my nearly 30 years as a prosecutor, said Suffolk County District Attorney Raymond Tierney. The torture that killed Thomas and put Anthony's life in danger was nothing short of evil. Fortunately, this defendant's narrative ends now, but the search for justice for Thomas and Anthony continues. Evidence from a home surveillance camera showed Michael Valva screaming at Thomas, threatening him, and then ordering him outside in the sub-freezing weather to hose him down, causing the child to lose consciousness and fall face first several times onto the backyard concrete paver patio. According to testimony and evidence presented at the trial, Valva waited approximately 1 hour before calling 911 for assistance, and by the time Thomas arrived at the hospital, his body temperature was 76.1 degrees, more than 20 degrees below normal. Additional evidence revealed that Thomas and his autistic brother Anthony had been forced to sleep in the garage for months prior to the incident. The Suffolk County Medical Examiner ruled that Thomas Valva died as a consequence of hypothermia-related complications. Since 2017, the brothers have shared the house with a third sibling, their father, his fiancée, and her 3 kids. They were enrolled in the East Mauritius School District. School employees testified that Thomas and Anthony appeared thin and were seen eating food off the floor, pulling half-eaten food from the garbage, and taking food from other children. Additionally, witnesses testified that they would arrive at school cold, tired, in pain at times, and soiled to the point where employees could smell urine and feces on them. Angela Paulina, Valva's former fiancée, is also charged with second-degree murder and 4 charges of endangering the welfare of a child.
Devalkenaere on count 1, the Class E felony of involuntary manslaughter in the second degree. I sentence you to a term of incarceration in the Missouri Division of Adult Institutions of 3 years.
According to an indictment, Eric Devalkenaere and his colleague were responding to a traffic incident involving a red pickup vehicle in Kansas City on December 3, 2019. A police helicopter observed a red pickup truck driving and entering a driveway at the back of a home, and the officers, dressed in plain clothes and wearing police department vests, arrived at the home and entered the backyard without a legal warrant and with their guns drawn. The police tried to urge Lamb to stop, but it's unclear if he heard them, according to the indictment. Lamb was slowly backing the pickup truck down a ramp into the basement garage, and Devalkenaere's partner was on Lamb's side of the vehicle and could see him when he arrived.
He takes his left hand with the gun, and as he brings it along up and around the left-hand side of the steering wheel is when I...
Devalkenaere said that when he saw Lamb's left hand grab for a pistol and pointed at his partner, he fired 4 shots at him. According to Valerie Hartman, a spokesman for the 16th Judicial Circuit Court, Eric Devalkenaere, who is white, was sentenced to 3 years in prison for the unintentional manslaughter of Cameron Lamb and 6 years in prison for armed criminal conduct. Judge James Dale Youngs, who found Devalkenaere guilty in a bench trial, ordered that the sentences be completed consecutively, according to Hartman. Molly Hastings, the defense attorney, did not reply to CNN's request for a comment. During a press conference after the court, Lamb's mother, Lori Bay, termed the punishment a fair decision. "The mental pain I'm dealing with isn't going away," Bay remarked. "Ideally, it will jolt this police agency, shake up Kansas City," Lamb's stepfather, Akil Bay, said. Defense counsel had asked that Devalkenaere stay free after his punishment while they appealed his verdict. Joseph Miedzianowski is a former Chicago police officer who was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for racketeering and narcotics conspiracy, and is recognized as the city's most corrupt cop for his involvement in a cocaine sales ring with gang members and other corrupt cops. During his 22-year police career, he received 59 citations for valor and arrests, and was publicly praised for his high number of drug and illegal weapons busts, while also secretly revealing the identities of undercover police officers to gang members, protecting drug organizations, distributing crack cocaine, and supplying gang members with ammunition. Miedzianowski requested a reduction in his sentence under the First Step Act in 2020, which was denied. In 2022, brothers Juan and Rosendo Hernandez had their murder convictions overturned after requesting a retrial, claiming that Detective Reynaldo Guevara had framed them at Miedzianowski's request. As always, thank you for watching. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for our next video.